YouTube, Dawson Rider here. Welcome to my review for Red Ranger Becomes an Adventure, episode 11. The penultimate episode, I believe. I've been told it's only 12 episodes. Kind of crazy that we're already here. Hopefully it gets a second season. I know the manga is still a thing and it's continuing. I don't think I'll read ahead. If it doesn't get a season 2, I probably will. If it does get a season 2, I'd rather just watch the anime and be surprised and whatnot. I know you can sort of pick out changes and additions, as some people that have read the manga have pointed out to me some of the cool additions, but still, I'd rather just continue with the series if it, well, continues. This episode was funny in the sense that it reminded me of an episode early on, not in terms of the content, but in terms of the structure. I believe it was the one where Logi was fighting against Red to see if they would join forces and whatnot, and that whole episode felt like it was going to be structured around that, and then it was only the first half, and the second half was setting up the next arc. And this episode was the same, where the first half wrapped up the Azir arc, and then the second half set up basically the finale arc. It's not like bad or anything like that, but it does feel a little bit strange. It feels like you had the whole plan of this series laid out and someone just smushed it together and some of the episodes bled into each other. It just makes for really awkward pacing, especially right here near the end. The first half, like I said, wraps up the Azir stuff, pretty tied neatly in a bow, pretty cliche. Overall solid ending. I wasn't like overwhelmingly invested in the emotional stakes or anything, but I thought they wrapped it up pretty decently, especially with the fact that they tied all the bonds together, like the bonds idea, James Bond. Now, with the idea of bonds that Yudra's been learning from Red, I'm gonna say the word bond so many times now. Regardless though, the kind of overarching story about bonds because of Kizuna Red and what Yudra's been learning and how she uses that to create a spell to sort of make the focal point the bond between Reina and Azir. I thought that was well done in terms of tying the themes of the series together. The best part though is the mecha stuff, although it was a little disappointing because I thought we were going to get her Ranger form from the ending theme because she started to connect with like the Kizuna bond system and I thought we were going to get her changer. I guess it wouldn't have made sense for it to be important in the cockpit unless you're doing a cockpit mode thing. But we did get like this special sword thing, which was kind of neat. It was neat to see her interacting with that, but it was a little bit disappointing since I know there's that Ranger form out there and then it's just a sword. There was a cool moment there where they get a gold version of the mecha, which reminded me of Omega Shoutmon. Like, I was gonna say for some reason, but I think it's pretty obvious. It's because of gold! So yeah, that was pretty cool. I do hope we see her Ranger form in the finale. I mean, some of the story we set up there definitely could give reason for it, and because it's in the ending, I imagine it would be in this first season. I mean, it could just wait for second season, but I can't imagine that they would put it in the ending if it wasn't going to appear in this season. The second half sets things up for the finale, more wrapping up a little bit of the stuff where they're like, oh, Azir, we see where you went wrong or whatever, and we're going to work with you in the future, but you're like not fully forgiven or whatever they say. But then you have the butler guy that was manipulating him reveal himself as one of the big bads, one of the children of the demon lady that also like wants to marry her, which is gross, and I did not need that detail. I did not like that part. But he shows up and reveals like, oh, I manipulated everything, and I manipulated the riot, so your dad was killed, Azir's dad. And then the other villain guy shows up that was controlling the demon seeds, and we just really set the stage for the finale. One of the only bits of like Ranger commentary we got was when they're about to fight. Before Red can transform, the Jackal guy says, I can't remember his name, I'm sorry. He's like, oh, the key to this is just to attack them before they transform. That's like not necessarily a trope, but I'm sure that's something we've all thought over the years watching Power Rangers or Sentai, is like, why not just attack them before they morph or when they're in civilian mode or whatever. Same thing with like, why don't you just fire at them when they're posing and being idiots? I kind of hope that comes up at some point, like when he's doing a pose he gets attacked. So he's not able to transform several times because of that. In fact, he gets pretty beat up and he actually puts himself in the way of Yidra. And that was kind of one of the first moments I really felt their bond. Not that I feel he doesn't care about her, but I felt the connection felt more one-sided for me with her caring for him on that romantic level. I don't know about the romantic stuff for him, but it was probably the most I felt the bond between the characters on his side. Then though, at the very end, as a last resort, because they're losing hardcore, he's using the black Band-Aid gimmick to become Kizuna Black. And we've seen kind of hints at this before when he was channeling some of that black energy. Oddly enough, the first time we met the Jackal villain. I was wondering if that was tied to this dimension, like something about his negative emotions was interacting with this magical world, but this seems like now something that was existing in his Sentai series as a dark form where he has to use dark energy. Maybe kind of like with bonds and attachment taking on a toxic trait, kind of like Anakin Skywalker. But I think that's really cool. Like, even so much so they try to stop him from transforming again, and the dark energies like tech him. I do wish the form was a little cooler though, because it's basically just red with like some black smoke around it and some black secondary accents. I wish it was like a full-on black suit. A black suit with gold accents would be peak. Mainly because this suit reminds me very much, the suits overall remind me very much of Time Ranger, Lupat, and we did get that really cool Time Force Black in the comic, and I think just a full-on Kizuna Black suit would look really cool. Nonetheless, it was a cool note to leave the episode off on, and I'm eager to see where the finale leaves off. Hopefully this is doing well enough to get a second season, because I've really been enjoying it. But let me know what you thought of the episode in the comments as always. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell to get notifications for my videos. Dawson Rider, signing out.